Most people think an automated parking garage is one of the safest places to leave their car. Everything is controlled by computers. Robotic platforms transport vehicles instead of drivers. Restricted areas are locked. Security cameras monitor every corner. In theory, there should be almost no human interaction once your vehicle enters the system. But what most people don't realize is that behind those concrete walls are maintenance corridors, service elevators, hidden mechanical levels, and miles of restricted areas that customers never see. Places where a single malfunction can leave someone trapped, or worse, completely alone. The 3 stories you're about to hear come from people whose ordinary visit to an automated parking garage turned into something they'll never forget. These are 3 scary true horror stories of people trapped in automated parking garages. I never expected the scariest experience of my life to happen in a parking garage. Not a dark alley, not an abandoned building, not out in the middle of nowhere, a parking garage. This happened in September of 2023, while I was visiting Chicago for a weekend. I had driven into the city to meet a couple of friends for dinner and a late-night movie downtown. Since parking on the street was almost impossible, I decided to use one of those fully automated parking garages, where you leave your car in a loading bay, the machine takes it away, and retrieves it when you're ready to leave. I'd never used one before. It actually seemed pretty impressive. You drive into a small platform, get out of the car, scan your ticket, and the system automatically lifts and stores your vehicle somewhere inside the building. Customers aren't allowed anywhere near the storage area, because everything is handled by robotic lifts and elevators. The whole process took less than 2 minutes. I met my friends, watched the movie, grabbed something to eat afterward, and didn't get back to the garage until a little after 12:30 in the morning. The lobby was almost empty. There was one employee behind a glass service window, and another customer waiting near the payment kiosk. I scanned my ticket. Nothing happened. A message appeared on the screen saying, "System error, vehicle retrieval temporarily unavailable." I figured it would be a quick fix. The employee apologized and explained that one of the vehicle elevators had stopped responding. He said technicians had already been notified, and it should only take 20 or 30 minutes. Annoying, but not a huge deal. I sat in the waiting area and scrolled through my phone. About half an hour passed. Nothing changed. The same error message stayed on every screen. The employee looked just as frustrated as everyone else. He kept making phone calls, checking the computer, then shaking his head. Eventually, I walked over to the service window and asked if there was another way out of the building. I mostly wanted to stretch my legs. He pointed toward a gray metal door near the corner of the lobby. "Emergency stairwell," he said. "If you need fresh air, it'll take you to street level." I thanked him and pushed open the heavy door. The second it closed behind me, everything became incredibly quiet. No music, no conversations, just the hum of ventilation fans somewhere deep inside the building. The stairwell was nothing but gray concrete walls, concrete steps, steel railings, harsh fluorescent lights. Every footstep echoed. I started climbing. The parking lobby was supposed to be on level B4. Above that were B3, B2, B1, then street level. At least that's what I expected. I reached B3, then B2. Everything looked exactly the same. Same gray walls, same heavy fire doors, same faded floor numbers painted beside each landing. When I reached what should have been B1, I noticed something strange. There was another flight of stairs above it. I figured maybe I'd counted wrong, so I kept climbing. The next landing had no number, no sign, nothing, just blank concrete. Even stranger, the fire door was slightly open. Every other door I'd passed had been completely shut. I should have ignored it. Instead, curiosity got the better of me. I pushed the door open just enough to look inside. The room beyond didn't look finished. The floor was bare concrete. Electrical conduit hung from the ceiling. Old construction materials were stacked against the walls. It looked like an abandoned maintenance level. I stepped inside. There wasn't much to see at first. Then my flashlight caught something near the back wall, a folded mattress. Next to it sat several bottles of water, canned food, portable batteries, a camping lantern. Someone had been living there, not years ago. Recently, there wasn't much dust anywhere around the mattress. The water bottles still had condensation on them. A portable radio sat on top of a milk crate. Its power light was glowing. I immediately felt like I shouldn't be there. I turned toward the door. That's when I heard footsteps. Fast, not walking, running, coming up the stairwell. The sound echoed violently through the concrete shaft. Whoever it was climbing quickly, much faster than I had. My first instinct was to call out, but something stopped me. If this was the person living here, I didn't want them knowing I'd found their space. I stepped behind a stack of drywall, leaning against the wall. The footsteps got closer, then stopped, right outside the open door. For several seconds, nothing happened. I couldn't hear breathing, couldn't hear movement, just silence. Then the radio sitting on the milk crate suddenly crackled. A man's voice calmly said, "Somebody's up here." Every hair on my arms stood up. The voice hadn't come from the stairwell. It came from the radio inside the room. Another voice answered almost immediately. I know. I didn't wait to hear anything else. I ran. I pushed past the door and sprinted down the stairs 2 at a time. I honestly don't remember touching half the steps. By the time I reached the parking lobby, I was completely out of breath. The employee behind the service window immediately asked if I was okay. I told him someone was living upstairs. He looked confused. I pointed toward the stairwell. There are supplies up there. And I heard people talking. His expression changed immediately. He picked up the phone and called security. About 15 minutes later, 2 security guards searched the stairwell. They came back saying they hadn't found anyone. The unfinished level was there. So were the mattress, food, batteries, and radio. But whoever had been using the space was gone. One of the guards quietly admitted something before I left. That maintenance level wasn't supposed to be accessible from the customer stairwell. According to the building's plans, the fire door should have been permanently locked. I finally got my car just after 3 in the morning. I never used another automated parking garage after that, because every time I think about that night, I remember one thing. The second voice on the radio never asked who I was. It simply said, "I know," as if they'd already been watching me long before I found that hidden floor. I've been working on automated parking systems for almost 9 years. People assume these garages operate like normal parking structures. They don't. Most customers never see what actually happens after they hand over their keys. Behind the walls are robotic platforms, vehicle elevators, transfer systems, and dozens of sensors moving cars between different levels without a single person driving them. It's almost completely automated. When everything works, it's incredibly efficient. When something goes wrong, it's usually just a software issue. That's exactly what I thought one night in November of 2022. I was the overnight maintenance technician for one of the largest automated parking garages in our city. The facility stored over 600 vehicles across multiple underground levels. My shift started at 10 p.m. and usually consisted of preventative inspections and responding to any alarms the system generated overnight. Most alerts were minor: a dirty sensor, a stuck platform, a communication error, nothing unusual. Around 2:40 that morning, my work tablet suddenly displayed an equipment alarm. Service elevator 2, unauthorized movement detected. That immediately caught my attention. The service elevator wasn't used to transport vehicles. It was strictly for maintenance staff. It carried tools, replacement parts, and technicians between restricted levels. Only employees with authorized keycards could operate it. I pulled up the access logs. No one had badged into the elevator for over 6 hours. Still, the live status showed it moving. Level B4. Then B3. Then back to B4. Then B2. Then B4 again. Almost as if someone couldn't decide where they wanted to go. I assumed one of the position sensors had failed. It wasn't uncommon. I grabbed my radio, toolkit, and headed downstairs. The maintenance corridors were completely empty. The only sounds were ventilation fans and the occasional mechanical hum from the vehicle storage system operating on the opposite side of the building. When I reached the elevator lobby, the doors were closed. The display above them showed the cab moving. Up, down, exactly like the computer had reported. I keyed the elevator into maintenance mode. Normally that immediately stops the system. This time, nothing happened. The elevator continued moving. I tried again. Still nothing. Eventually it stopped, not on a floor, between B3 and B4. That wasn't supposed to happen. The elevator was programmed to stop only at designated maintenance levels. I checked the diagnostics. No faults, no emergency stops. Everything looked normal. Then, after nearly 30 seconds, the elevator descended by itself and stopped directly in front of me. The doors opened. The cab was empty, or at least I thought it was. Then I noticed a folding chair positioned neatly in one corner. Beside it sat a half-full bottle of water, a flashlight, and a spiral notebook. None of it belonged there. Maintenance equipment is tracked carefully. Personal belongings definitely aren't left inside operational elevators. I stepped inside. The notebook immediately caught my attention. Most of the pages contained rough sketches of the garage, hand-drawn maps, maintenance hallways, employee access doors, vehicle storage sections. Some areas were circled in red marker, others had handwritten notes beside them. One page had today's date written across the top. Beneath it was a simple sentence: "New technician working nights." My stomach dropped. I hadn't transferred to the overnight shift until the previous week. Very few employees even knew my schedule. Then I noticed another circle on the map. It surrounded the exact maintenance level where I was standing. At that moment, the elevator doors began closing. I hit the door open button. Nothing. The cab started moving. I hadn't pressed a single control. The elevator descended. Slowly. Level B4. Then farther. Below B4. According to the control panel, there were no levels beneath B4. The floor indicator simply went blank. The elevator continued moving for another 10 seconds before stopping with a slight jolt. The doors remained closed. I tried every button. Nothing responded. For the first time in years, I actually felt trapped. Then the doors suddenly opened. There wasn't another floor outside, just a dimly lit concrete service corridor I'd never seen before. No signs, no markings, no emergency lighting, just a narrow hallway disappearing into darkness. I stepped out long enough to shine my flashlight down the corridor. The beam revealed exposed pipes running along the ceiling, old electrical panels, dust, nothing else. Then I heard something, a metal door closing somewhere far ahead. Not loudly, just enough to echo through the corridor. I immediately stepped back into the elevator and repeatedly pressed the lobby button. Thankfully, the doors closed, and the elevator started moving again. When it reached B4, I shut the entire system down. The next morning, I reported everything. Management assumed someone had gained unauthorized access. Security reviewed every camera covering the maintenance levels. Nobody entered the elevator. Nobody exited it. The access logs showed no keycards, no override commands, nothing. A week later, contractors inspected the shaft looking for a software or mechanical fault. They found neither. What they did find was stranger. Behind one of the service walls was an old maintenance passage that had been sealed off years earlier during renovations. Someone had recently broken through from the other side. Inside were blankets, food wrappers, portable batteries, and several empty water bottles, evidence that someone had been living behind the walls of the garage. The police searched the entire property, but never found anyone. To this day, I still think about one thing. Whoever left that notebook didn't just know the layout of the building. They knew exactly when I started working there, and somehow, they knew I'd be the one responding to that alarm. I've worked private security for most of my adult life. Office buildings, warehouses, construction sites. Eventually, I took a job at an automated parking facility in the downtown area. Compared to my previous jobs, it seemed almost relaxing. The garage operated 24 hours a day, but after midnight it was closed to customers. The only people allowed inside were maintenance staff and security. My job was simple: Monitor the surveillance cameras, respond to alarms, make sure nobody entered restricted areas. The garage itself was almost entirely automated. Customers never actually parked their own cars. They'd leave their vehicle in a loading bay, hand it over to the system, and robotic lifts would transport it into a massive underground storage structure. Once the building closed for the night, the entire system was supposed to remain idle. No vehicle movement, no customer access, nothing. At least that's how it was supposed to work. This happened in July of last year. I was working alone on the overnight shift. Around 3:05 in the morning, the control room computer made a notification sound. One of the vehicle retrieval kiosks had received a request that immediately caught my attention. The garage had been closed for over 2 hours. No customers should have been inside. I assumed it was a software glitch. It wasn't unheard of. I opened the live camera feeds. The customer lobby was empty. The payment area was empty. Every entrance was locked. No movement anywhere. Then the retrieval sequence started. If you've never seen an automated parking system work, it's surprisingly loud. Deep mechanical motors started humming somewhere underground. Hydraulic lifts engaged. Platforms began moving. Steel rails echoed through the building. On one monitor, I watched a robotic carrier retrieve a vehicle from storage. On another screen, I watched the transfer platform rotate it toward the delivery bay. Everything looked perfectly normal, exactly as if a customer had requested their car. The problem was, there wasn't a customer. A few minutes later, the vehicle arrived in the pickup bay. The automatic doors opened. The platform rotated into position. Then, nothing. Nobody came. The vehicle sat there for several minutes before the system automatically returned it to storage. I figured the software had simply bugged out. I cleared the alert and went back to watching the cameras. About 10 minutes later, another retrieval request appeared. Different ticket number, different vehicle. Again, the garage came to life. Motors, elevators, platforms, everything activated. Once again, a vehicle arrived at the pickup bay. Again, nobody was there. This time I decided to leave the control room and physically check the lobby. I walked the entire customer area. Nothing. No people. No unlocked doors. No signs anyone had entered. When I got back upstairs, another request had already started processing. 3 retrieval requests in less than 30 minutes. Every one of them legitimate. Everyone accepted by the system. Everyone completed successfully, without a single customer present. I immediately called the overnight maintenance technician. He remotely checked the system logs. Everything appeared normal. Each request had a valid ticket number, a valid payment confirmation, a valid kiosk ID. There were no errors. According to the system, real customers were requesting their vehicles. Before ending the call, the technician asked me something. "Can you tell me which kiosk is generating the requests?" I looked at the monitor. Kiosk 3. There was a long pause. Then he quietly said, "That's impossible." I asked why. He explained that Kiosk 3 had been disconnected months earlier after being damaged by a delivery truck. It wasn't just turned off. The power had been removed. The network cable had been disconnected. The machine had been waiting for replacement parts ever since. It physically couldn't process anything. I didn't know what to say. The technician drove to the garage and arrived around 4 that morning. Together we inspected the lobby. Sure enough, Kiosk 3 was dark. Its screen was black. Dust covered the payment slot. There was yellow caution tape stretched across the front. It looked like it hadn't been touched in months. Yet every retrieval request that night had supposedly come from that machine. The following morning, management reviewed every system log they could find. The requests were genuine. The payment records existed. The timestamps matched. The kiosk identification matched. Everything appeared legitimate, until someone checked the vehicle history. The last retrieval request that night belonged to a silver sedan. According to company records, that vehicle hadn't been parked in the garage for over 2 years. Its owner had canceled their monthly contract after moving out of the city. The account was inactive. The ticket number had expired long ago. There was absolutely no reason for the system to retrieve it. Security footage showed the robotic platform bringing the car to the pickup bay exactly as requested. Nobody collected it. After several minutes, the system quietly returned it to storage. The manufacturer eventually inspected the entire parking system. They blamed it on a rare software anomaly. Maybe they were right, but there was one detail they couldn't explain. Every retrieval request that night occurred exactly 7 minutes apart. Not 6, not 8, exactly 7. Perfectly consistent, almost like someone, or something, was patiently waiting before pressing the button again. I still work security, just not there, because I never got comfortable sitting alone in a control room, watching an empty garage come to life for someone who wasn't there. Those were 3 scary true horror stories of people trapped in automated parking garages. Most of us never think twice about leaving our car in an automated parking garage. We scan a ticket, watch the system take the vehicle away, and trust that everything behind those walls is operating exactly as it should. But these stories are a reminder that some of the most unsettling places aren't abandoned at all. They're fully operational, they're monitored, they're automated, and sometimes, the system isn't the only thing moving behind those concrete walls. If you enjoyed tonight's stories, let me know in the comments which one disturbed you the most. And if you've ever had a strange experience in a parking garage, I'd be interested to hear about it. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more realistic horror stories every week. Thanks for listening. Stay aware, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one.